Blog Talk Radio.
The purple angel, oh purple angel, you're next to me. Purple angel, oh purple angel, you're next to me. You're next to me. You're next to me.
Well, hello and welcome to Alzheimer Speaks Radio. I'm your host and the founder of Alzheimer Speaks, Lori LeBay. So welcome today. For those of you that are fathers and we're celebrating, congratulations for all you do for the fathers in our lives. And that doesn't necessarily mean biological fathers. There's a lot of men out there who are fathers to many who have never had kids of their own. So don't overlook those guys either. They're doing a wonderful, wonderful job. For those of you that are new to our show, I just want to give you a little background on who Alzheimer Speaks is and what we're about. Bottom line is we're an advocacy-based company providing multiple platforms to shift our dementia care culture from crisis to comfort around the world. And we believe that by joining forces and sharing knowledge and having everyday conversations like we're going to have today about life with dementia, that we're going to be able to remove the stigmas attached to memory loss and help those dealing with the disease live with purpose. Together, I know we can help everybody understand the true needs of this disease and remove all those nasty myths and stigma that create such fear and isolation for so many people in the world. I know we're making a difference because we were honored by being awarded from ShareCare and Dr. Oz, the #1 influencer online regarding Alzheimer's. And I don't say that to give Alzheimer Speaks kudos. I say that so that everyone listening can understand the impact that you have, because you, our audience, were the ones that created that momentum and allowed us to be recognized at that level. You see, your clicks, your likes, your tweets, your shares, all of those things have a huge impact. So many people are dealing with this disease that we don't even know, and they can be in our close circle of friends. And you would be shocked when you find out that someone is actually struggling with this in their life, struggling with dementia. By liking and tweeting, you are pushing out valuable information that people can get used to seeing the conversation being had, and they're going to be able to tap into it when they're ready. This isn't something we can force on anybody in terms of information and knowledge, but the more it's out there, the more accessible it is, the more likely those in need are going to be able to tap into it. So please continue. If you haven't liked our page, please do so on the radio show, as well as go to our home page where we have all kinds of information. We have the radio, we've got the blog. We do Dementia Chats webinars, which is a free webinar that anybody can attend, and those are all recorded as well. We have a resource directory and so much more information on there. So go to www.alzheimerspeaks.com, and at the top there's a big share button, and go ahead and share that page as well. We would really appreciate your efforts to help raise awareness. It's something that costs no time and takes little money. Now, we also are always looking for guests on our show, and so we interview everybody from those living with the disease to those that are caring for somebody, and that might be a family or a friend, or it might be a professional. There are all different types of businesses cropping up now to deal with dementia, but there are also authors, lots and lots of authors out there writing their stories about their journey with dementia. There are musicians and film directors. There are researchers. So here on Alzheimer Speaks, we feel that everybody's voice is valued, and we want to hear that. So if you think that you might be interested in being part of the show, please just shoot me an email. Again, you can go to alzheimerspeaks.com. There's a big contact button, and just in the subject line, say Alzheimer Speaks Radio, and tell me a little bit about yourself, and we'll go from there. Before I introduce our first guest, though, I always like to give a shout-out to some organizations that I think are really valuable and can help us all out a lot. The Purple Angel, which was our opening song, is an awareness campaign about having a symbol, a global symbol that denotes dementia. And it's a marvelous, marvelous tool. It's spreading like wildfire throughout the world. It costs no money, and anybody can be part of this campaign. You can use it in your email signatures, on your Facebook pages, linked in your websites, all different ways, even marketing materials. So if you're interested in that, go to our About page on alzheimerspeaks.com. You can get a little bit more information there, and again, I'd be glad to talk to you further on that. Many people ask where they can find an Alzheimer's association closest to them, and since we have a global audience, I like to push people to Alzheimer's Disease International, or known as ADI. That's Alzheimer's Disease International. And there you will not only be able to find an Alzheimer's association closest to you, but you will also be able to get the latest updates on global data and what is happening in our world. They do a marvelous job at keeping us posted. The Alzheimer's Studies Group has 2 clinical trials going on right now, one for frontal temporal lobe, and the other is in its 3rd trial for tau. So you can go to alzheimersstudies.com, or you can go to the Alzheimer's team on Facebook and find more information there. The Alzheimer's Research and Prevention Foundation is an organization that provides holistic opportunities when dealing with dementia. So they look at things about our eating habits, exercise, social engagement, meditation. They also have a contest running right now. So if you have a story that you'd like to share about your father, send them that story and a photo. And the contest closes the 29th of this month. And again, that's the Alzheimer's Research and Prevention Foundation. A couple other organizations that I think are really important is the Lewy Body Dementia Association and the Association for Frontal Temporal Degeneration. When you are dealing with either types of these symptoms of dementia, it's important to get to those organizations because the symptoms are a little bit different, and you're going to be able to talk directly with people that get it, that are living with it, and I think you'll find great information there. Many people always ask about someone's having trouble with speech, and the National Aphasia Association can help with that. And aphasia is spelled APHASIA. And then as far as social engagement goes, Music First with Choral Health and is amazing. They do prescriptions for music. So they can find music that will help wake somebody up, put them to sleep, help them eat, relax. It's pretty incredible. And Choro is spelled CORO, Choral Health with Music First. And then Jane Snyder with Puzzle With Me developed a puzzle that is more age-appropriate for adults. It has fewer pieces and bigger pieces, so it's easier to handle. The Jiminy Wicket program is a social engagement program, which is also educational. They use this in the schools to play croquet with students and people from memory care, and they line them up so it's one-on-one, so it's a lot of fun and educational in the process. You can also use this game at home yourself, and I think you'll find it amazing and fun. So let's go ahead and introduce our first guest here. Rita Anand has been teaching, training, and educating health providers and staff for many years, not only locally but nationally. As an Alzheimer's and dementia trainer specializing in memory care, she's also a certified activity director and certified assisted living manager. Rita is a valued consultant and trainer to assisted living and long-term care facilities, retirement communities, and home and adult day facilities. She also has extensive training in mental health and hospice care. Rita is the founder and president of Beyond Golden Era, a company dedicated to educating caregivers and healthcare professionals on how to effectively serve the elderly in aspects of their life. Her newest venture is called Dementia Angels, and that is an information and service, provides information and services and resources for people such as personal aids, and it prepares clients for varying physical, mental, and emotional challenges inherent in the beginning, middle, and end stages of Alzheimer's and dementia. Rita's passion truly is to assist the elderly and help families go through this journey of dementia. So welcome, Rita.
Thank you, Laurie. Thank you so much. Good morning to listeners.
Well, I'm glad that you're with us here. Poor Rita's in Arizona, and would you say it's 104 there today?
Yes, it is almost going to be 104.
Yeah.
I'm enjoying all the heat I can.
Well, and we're whining in Minnesota with 85 and sticky because it's going to be. It looks like we're going to have storms again tonight. But I guess we can back off on our whining. We're not 104, so that's good. Well, I'm so excited to have you with us. I wanted to share with people a little bit before we get started in our questions, just a personal connection that Rita and I had, and how I met her, and why I'm so fascinated with what she's doing. When I was in Arizona speaking, Rita had reached out and said, I'd really like to get together with you while you're here. And so months in advance, we had set up an appointment to get together. Little did I know that while we were together and while I was in Arizona, my mother would be actively dying at home, and I wouldn't be able to be present. And this dear woman was actually with me at dinner when my mom took her last breath. And we got to see that on FaceTime. My daughter had called us, and she was so gracious and so giving, and I'll never, ever be able to repay her for your kindness. So thank you, Rita. Needed to publicly say that.
It was my pleasure.
Yeah,
I'm emotional right now.
Yeah, she was amazing, absolutely amazing, and I couldn't have asked for a better person to be with me at that time. So very compassionate person, and from then, has really ignited a strong friendship, and it's just an honor to learn of her work and her passion for really shifting how we treat our elders, and especially in dementia care. So, Rita, I always ask people when they're on the show, and I know the answer, but our audience doesn't. Have you been personally touched with family or a friend, by dementia, or how did you get into this?
Yeah, this is such an interesting question. No, I am not. I have not been personally touched by this disease, luckily, I would say, or unfortunately. But what happened is that I was working as an assistant director in one of the communities in New Jersey. That's where I was for a couple of years before coming into Arizona. And I had just joined in that part of the world, which is therapeutic activity director. And they had asked me to start working on dementia unit, which was on the third floor. So what happened is any of my staff members, if our director or anybody used to say, why don't you go into that unit and start working? And they used to say, no, I don't want to, I'm scared, I'm afraid, and all that of these type of questions. And I was a little bit curious, what is dementia? So I asked my director and my administrator that I would like to be challenged to go to that floor. And over there, they were all very severe dementia with aggressive behavior because it was a nursing home. So I went in there and I just had a very challenging 8 hours, one day servicing there just to know what's going on. What is this disease about? How to help them? And I came back home. I searched for all Alzheimer's, and I wanted to know about dementia. And that's where it all started almost 15 to 16 years back. And
wow.
I took the training. I made up my mind. I want to help this disease because this disease is within itself. They cannot communicate. It was a very tough disease for anybody who can see and diagnose it. Once it's diagnosed, how to take care of them. So I started taking all the trainings, not only for New Jersey or New York, but I started traveling to Maryland. I started traveling to Dallas, and I took extensive training just to know and feel. And whatever training I was taking, I used to go back on my floor, and I started helping all my dementia patients from onset to severe behaviors to even on hospice. All I saw was that my passion, my attractions toward them is there is a soul. There is a soul in each and every dementia patient, and we need to take care of them. Healthcare is a very unique care, and when you want to be a professional, you have to have a passion, a training, and a real secretive heart to take care of our dementia patients. And when I say our, you can see that this is my extended family. I love them all, even till the end of life.
Well,
so I thought,
I was going to say that's beautifully stated, and I think it's so important what you said about, each has a soul, and they are still in there. I saw that repeatedly with my mom, end stages, couldn't communicate, couldn't do anything for herself anymore, yet there was still the glint in the eye and the smile that would come alive every now and then. Couldn't be there for us all the time, but, and we had to train ourselves to look, I think, differently, to find those things. We forget in this fast-paced world that we have to slow down and really be present. And it sounds like that's really what you were bringing back to your community and back to your staff, which is a wonderful, wonderful thing to hear. Can you tell us about you have two different companies, and I'm wondering if you can tell us about them both. If you want to, you can start out with either of them, and I kind of highlighted them in the intro, but I think it would be good for people to learn a little bit more about each of them.
Yeah, sure, definitely. Since I was working as a therapeutic recreation director, activity director for years, so I started moving from nursing home, learned a lot of experience, and went to assisted living. I found that, our staff has to be trained very well before they are placed on the floor to take care of dementia patients. They have to have a special training. They have to have a special skill, a heart, a passion, all these combinations, because they have to have patience, a lot of patience, a smile, a touch, a care. So I just thought that I had to launch a new company just to train, which I was doing at anywhere to all my staff. So Beyond Golden Era was born. So in Beyond Golden Era, I provide training to all the healthcare professionals who are on the front line. That means they are all the managers, activity directors, nurses, case managers. You're talking about executive directors, and even builders and managers who are planning to create new communities for our elder cares. So I thought that this is the best one. So I took a training from NCCDP, and I became a CDCM, which is Certified Dementia Case Manager. And my passion, my experiences, my trainings, and all of them as a combination, I put an effort in Beyond Golden Era to train them one of the best. I provide a lot of CEUs for all the professionals. This is a really great training which they learn hands-on. So I try to do it in the community so that I can bring them on that unit or in that atmosphere, just to let them know that whatever I have taught and trained, now let's spend a good 1 hour on the floor and see how my training has affected and what all we need, how much we are learning. So it's basically a 1 day, 8 hours training, and I try my professionals to learn through my eyes what exactly you have to work with, how you have to work with them. As I said, lots of smiles, lots of patience, and passion. So if in dementia units you cannot have employees or caregivers who doesn't have a training. So Beyond Golden Era is completely about the training, advocacy, consultation jobs. So this is what Beyond Golden Era is. And I've been blessed that I've been doing it locally and nationally. So when I reached here in Arizona a year back, I found that, after observing for almost over a year, and this was back in my mind that I wanted to start a resource center for all our elderly. So I started creating a small social gathering for all our seniors. There was hardly any social activities for seniors. You see, for dementia, you can, before dementia comes in, I want to go back to a little bit, is depression, loneliness. Seniors start thinking about that in their mind. Oh, my God, my wife is not there, or what do we have to do? According to their age, according to their ability and their needs. So I started doing a small group in a church, and I was blessed that they gave me the space, and I started some 2-hour therapeutic recreation just to reminisce with them, talk to them, laugh, do activities, whatever they want, play cards, do the knitting club, talk about that, and then we will have some food and snacks and all those hydration and talk about it. And then I started bringing some healthcare professionals into those little groups we started every Thursday in the church. So that had created such an amazing platform for me to form Dementia Angels. And I said, these are the things that the seniors need to know. There are lots, thousands and thousands of all these resources out there in every community, but elderly are not able to get those resources. So I thought that we have to form one-stop care where we can provide our assisted seniors so we can assist them with the personalized, well-planned healthcare resources. And it's a one-stop resource. So for them, first of all, the Dementia Angels is an extended family of a kind, trusted professionals. We help to navigate that maze for all the seniors. We answer all these questions. So I met a couple of home health professionals. I had group homes. I went and I personally visit. We visit. Our team is myself as a consultant, dementia specialist. I have 2 nurses and a couple of social workers. So we all as a team go into these group homes, communities, and we see what exactly each community is serving. As we say, each and every dementia patient is very, very unique. They have their own likes, their dislikes, and habits and the culture. So there are a couple of communities that they are placing. Right now, near my neighborhood, 5 of those communities are all full with dementia patients. So each and every community has something unique to serve. So if our patient calls in, we really do extensive assessment in Dementia Angels, and we try to bring them on wherever we can. My first approach is I would like to keep them at home, provide them the socializing if we can through the non-medical home health care so that the staff is doing something with them all the time. They're keeping them busy. If they want to go for a walk, if they want to still cook, we try to keep as long as into their own, to let them enjoy their life as long as they can. Once they cannot, when we see it, we try to place them, we try to assist them where their requirements and their needs are, and they will be perfect there. So main word I would say for my dementia is I want to give them personalized, well-planned life. So Dementia Angels helps them, our team helps them till the end of life. Once when we know that this resident or this family member is not feeling well, and then we go back to the families and we go check our clients, we go back to the families, we update them with all our visits, what's going on, and even till the end of life. So once, if that resident is no more, we provide a grief support group to the family too.
Well, that's wonderful. I do just want to say to our listeners, if anybody has a question, you can actually call in live to the studio. That number is 714-364-4757. Again, that's 714-364-4757. Or you can always use our chat box as well and post a comment or a question there. You can just hear the passion in your voice, Rita, and how important this all is to you, which I think is not only refreshing, but I think that that passion is just contagious too. And I'm sure that your students and people who attend your training programs really feel that. Can you say the name of the designation again that you do for some of your training?
Yeah, sure. Definitely. Once when anybody is interested in taking my training, it's called CDP. You will get a title which is full form is Certified Dementia Practitioner. In 8 hours, I really give you a condensed training, hands-on training, and give you a resourceful binder, which actually gives you a lot of resources to approach. And once you have 8 hours, it's a very interactive training, so it's not like 100% PowerPoint. We do have PowerPoint, but my method of teaching is completely hands-on and knowing where you are at. How much do you know about that? Sometimes so we start from dementia, that what exactly this disease is, and I go through the journey, the first hour and a half about it till the end of life. So the certification is called CDP, Certified Dementia Practitioner. So you have to attend that 8 hours. And minimum is, I have been creating numerous CEU programs for any healthcare professionals too.
Okay, so with this CDP certification, is that something that is a one-time thing, or does it have to be kept up every year, or how does that work?
Very good questions. Yes, it's actually for 2 years, and for 2 years you can go and visit the website for NCCDP, which is a national association, and they are the one, they have approved this program and they have created this program. Now, this certification, once you receive, it's good for 2 years, and you can keep up. So once if they have my class, we will tell them how to keep up with the certification. Any body of knowledge for which covers the dementia in any form, whether ADLs or any type of a training. And this is basically mostly, and it is only for the professionals who are taking care of our loved ones, which is dementia patients in the communities.
Okay, wonderful. Now, you said you also do other programs. So do you do things for families that specific as well as far as programming goes?
Yes, I do. I started small support groups, which is called Remembrance with Rita, because I realized that dementia has a stigma, and it is very hard for me or to anybody who can ask all the elderly who are sitting still at home and they don't want to talk about it. So just to break that, I have started few Remembrance with Rita support groups where I give them a little bit of education about this disease. Since a lot of them, they have these support groups are for two different categories. One is to get the education, what it's all about. So it's free to all the public, all the communities. So in a couple of libraries, senior centers, I've been creating these programs just to aware about dementia, that, it is not a scary disease. We should be handling it in a very professional and a very respectful manner if somebody has dementia. So these support groups are basically who already has their loved ones in a community, that they need a place to talk, to know more about dementia, what are their expectations, what is going to happen next. So we all share and talk, about that. And my other support groups are basically more towards education. So I create a lot of programs for them and educating the family members where to approach, what to do, what is the next step. And I would like to add a little bit more of my experiences here, Laurie, is that once any senior has been diagnosed, what I have seen in duration of my work is that they should take a second opinion. Doctors are wonderful. I am not saying against anything, but everybody is a human. Because there is a very fine line between severe depression, delirium, and dementia. And I have noticed in my career that, twice I had an experience that a resident or a senior didn't have dementia and they were diagnosed with dementia. What I would say is that go to the doctors once you're diagnosed or anybody is diagnosed, your loved ones. Go back to another doctor and a psychiatrist or a neurosurgeon just to make sure that they have dementia before you put that stigma and before you get into that. Because I saved 3 lives already in my 10 years. So I would say that, that word once they have, they had a severe depression. And one of them, they had a severe delirium because she had fallen down in the bathroom. And so she was completely confused and had all those signs of dementia. But when she was in a wonderful care in our community where I was and the team of our employees were, we were able to diagnose and see that, she is working very well with all, she didn't have much, what I could say had dementia symptoms. So what we did was that we tried to give her all the things, so she used to be a secretary in her past. So we gave her a lot of work to be organized, and she was able to do it. And we requested our doctors, who were medical doctors there. We requested the team, and she is at home right now. So, so sometimes I would enforce this, that please, if you have been diagnosed with dementia, try to go back and have second opinion or maybe third before you yourself take it that you have dementia or your loved one has dementia. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there is a lot of misdiagnosis going on there. I know with my mom, I'm really anxious just to see the autopsy because she didn't fit the peg in terms of what dementia was. She started having problems in her mid-50s. Doctors poo-pooed it to hormones for 10 years, and then all of a sudden said she's, got Alzheimer's and the mentality of a 3-year-old, and you kind of go, how do we get here? But, there's so many unknowns. This disease looks like so many others that are out there, and it's a confusing disease. We don't have close to any of the answers that we really want at this point. We're not sure what causes it. We're not sure what prevents it. So, it is good to get more than one opinion out there because we hear from people who are diagnosed all the time that all of a sudden their diagnosis has changed. And it's a pretty significant change when that happens. You're kind of going down one path, and now you've got to gear up to into something totally different. So I think that's really valuable advice. Now, with your resource center that you've created with the Dementia Angels and your referral system, is that local to Arizona, or is that national or international? How are you? What is your goal for that?
My goal definitely would be, thank you for letting me know that, yes, national and international. That's why I formed. There is a lot of care needed. So this was formed that this is one-stop resource so the elderly can just approach one phone call. Right now, we are working very strongly in the East Valley, which is a couple of communities and counties here, and we are heading towards the West Valley and the South and the East of all. So what's happening is from my dementia, right now we are only serving Arizona. So my plan is, our team's plan is, yes, slowly and steadily, once we are all settled and served all our seniors here, we will definitely push to another states. Yes.
Okay. That's kind of what I figured. There's so many different resources popping up right now. It's kind of hard to know who's where and what. And I think having those niches is great. To really get grounded in your own community and be really solid and have buy-in. Because it's hard to gather all the resources, and if you're inputting them yourself, or like with our collaborative resource thing, it's everyone can input stuff, but it's getting people to take the time and to realize how important having that information online in different variable places is, because you never know where the person in need is going to be coming from. And that's a really critical move there. Again, if anyone has any questions or comments, please feel free to call in at 714-364-4757, or you can utilize the chat box as well. I wanted to ask you a little bit about your training programs and what you feel is different about them and why that's important. You touched a little bit on that, but can you go into a little bit more in depth of how they're different and why you've set them up that way?
Yeah. Firstly, it's you saw your mom in a community, everybody else seeing you. Firstly, we have a real need to have a very well-trained staff to work with dementia patients. My training is that all I talk about is, and I train them, is that every resident has a unique need that we should be aware of if we are taking care of them. If you don't know about that particular resident, what their likes are, what their stages are, what is their physical capabilities are, what their needs are, what they require, how are they communicating, what are they trying to say. Sometimes they're looking for just to have a glass of water. Sometimes they're looking for just a small snack. So their needs, their requirements, what exactly they're talking about. So I try to bring them to their world. That's very important. And we have a small workshop in my training where they wear these glasses. They have all these so that they can feel that how their glasses are dirty, and they have some problems with their eyes, and they have a vision or a hearing aid, all the 5 senses. So that makes it a little bit unique, because I want to make them realize that sit down on this wheelchair and you have a wet, your areas has to be changed. So what happens is when they feel, my attendees or my students are sitting on that chair, on that wheelchair for 4 to 5 hours, they feel a need that you have to have a passion to take care of them, because the communication is also very important. So when dementia patients are not able to communicate what they really need, what they exactly mean. So we have to assume, we have to help, we have to see their body language and help them. So my training is mostly on hands-on. So all my experiences, my extensive trainings and I would say all what I have learned from different seminars and people out there and the research I have worked with, all those I bring them in the training, and I'll tell them that, you are the one who is taking care of that particular resident. For instance, they have 5 residents on their 8-hour shift. They need to know all of them very well, how they like to eat, what they like to eat, what exactly their past was, what they were before, and they have to respect them. And we have to make sure where their dementia is at. What are they talking about? If they're repetitive behaviors, are they wanderers? Are they looking for any other need or any other help? So the training is very important. So when we interact in our class, in our trainings, we are emphasizing more on each and every dementia patient that they're unique. So it is really, since there is no cure yet, so the training is also a journey to learn, explore, and have different ways to redirect our patients. So how to redirect them. There are different, since every dementia patient is unique, so we have to give them a redirection in a very unique way. So that's all they learn from that. Mm-hmm.
Wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you've also recently just become a Purple Angel ambassador. Can you tell us why you wanted to get involved with that campaign?
Yes, it means a lot to me. Thank you so much, Laurie, for introducing me to be a part of Purple Angel. Since my couple of my, I would say my friends or extended family are in support group, they have onset of dementia. So he's the only one who I met just recently in such a long journey, that he has onset of dementia and he's very open about it. So I thought that, I wanted to approach it so that we can talk about it. And he says, I will be back because we have lots of snowbirds here. So when he will be back and he is there, he wants to be involved with me to give an awareness to people to talk about it. It's okay to talk about it. He's still living a normal life from last 10 years, 5 years. And he says, I know that I cannot drive, so Rita, I gave the keys away. So that's what I thought, that when I read about Purple Angel and I came to know from you, I really looked into it and I was really touched, and I said I would love to be a part of that. We have so many support groups in Arizona where seniors can join for free to learn about all this, and I would love to navigate towards Purple Angel and ask them to go and visit your Alzheimer's Speak, so that they can get that awareness and openness. Purple Angel is a beautiful, beautiful, I would say, new era that everybody gets an opportunity that, yes, there is a support system. And I would love to be a part of that.
Yeah.
And it means...
It's such a simple way for anybody to be able to participate, with that. You can go to alzheimerspeaks.com to our About page, and we have a symbol and what you have to do. And, the Purple Angel was started by Norms McNamara over in the UK and Jane Moore, and it has just grown. I think they're a little bit shocked in terms of what exactly has happened with it. But, over there the Prime Minister has gotten behind the movement. The symbol is on trash trucks and buses and uniforms. It's in door windows for businesses that are committing to becoming dementia aware. This isn't about having all the answers. It's about starting the conversation. It's about helping raise awareness and being part of that team. And again, it doesn't cost anything. It doesn't take much time at all to get involved. But the impact that you can make is massively huge, and the movement is really starting to take here in the U.S. We're now looking for sponsors for materials because it got so big. The company in the UK just can't handle providing the U.S. materials as well. So there's a team of us that are trying to streamline the electronics, and then also to find some corporate sponsors to get behind this to help us with funding and postage so that we can get information out to people. But again, go to alzheimerspeaks.com on our About page, and you'll see a tab for the Purple Angels there. There are, probably over 150 ambassadors around the world now, and so many more that are just out spreading the word, not in an official capacity. They're friends and advocates of the program, but pretty massive and profound grassroots effort that has really taken hold, and really very, very nice to see in terms of what all is happening out there. Rita, as far as the Purple Angel goes for you, do you have a game plan on how you want to incorporate that in your town, or?
Yes, I would definitely. I was just wondering, and I was thinking, because first of all, it's a great team that I have a support now. I feel that I'm an ambassador, and I have a whole team all over globally who are helping me, includes from you and included from the UK where it started from. What my dream and passion would be that this awareness is to open up to all the family members through my support groups. Secondly, I would like all the assisted living, and I'll try my best. Whoever is coming for my training, I would like to aware them, give them a knowledge what exactly Purple Angel Ambassador is, so that this word is spread it out to them. All the assisted livings and group homes in Arizona, I would like to talk about this in any of my speaking or any of my trainings to aware them that this exists, and they can have their family members to go and approach. So my plan is that every assisted living who becomes their vendors or they want to know about it and they want to aggressively support our Purple Angel, I would like to go to those communities, give them the stickers, whatever they are looking for, and we can have that particular community as a Purple Angel, that they recognize what this move is for, what this appearance is for. And as much as I can, my vision is wherever I can in my vendor shop, as if I'm a vendor or I'm an education or I'm training, each and every one of them will have this awareness of Purple Angel. In my next support group, I am taking my computer. Usually we don't do that. I had a request from a couple of them, so I will be taking my computer and showing them through my projection what Alzheimer Speaks is all about, what Purple Angel is all about, so that they can go back home and navigate this through themselves and read and be there. So each and every individual's voice is going to be counted very well for them. And slowly and steady, yes, I would like to make sure that each and every community is also aware about Purple Angel.
Yeah,
it's
exciting.
It is very exciting, and I think we need support from each and every individual out here, because every third person has dementia. Every third person is being diagnosed with dementia. So we need that awareness. We need that holding hand from one hand to another hand, So I am trying my best, and from this Arizona, I would like to do that in New Jersey when I travel next, and even a little bit in Dallas. Wherever I go, this comes with me. And I feel a great support from all of you ambassadors who are helping me and will be helping me more to give this awareness to each and every individual, the families who need this help.
Oh, wonderful. I don't know if you were able to catch the show. I did a special show last night with an Australian group that is just doing phenomenal work. And I actually have a video of theirs posted on the front page of Alzheimer Speaks. And it's about the why of how we care. And it's 14 minutes long, but it really gets to the heart of what we need to be doing. And Colin McDonnell is the care services manager at Uniting Care Aging at Starrett Lodge, and they're over in Australia, and they're really doing cool stuff. And I had the producer of the film on with him, and Kareem is doing some more work with Colin and with Kathy Greenblatt as well, and just phenomenal work in terms of shifting care. That might be something that you and others can use in training programs as well, just showing the creativity that's coming and getting to the heart of, in the soul of, like you talked in your opening, that each person has. And this video really shows people coming alive when you ignite at that soul level, and what happens at that time. It's pretty extraordinary. I'm really excited because on Sunday I'm going to actually go to Wisconsin for some meetings with Wisconsin. The state as a whole is going to become dementia friendly. That's their goal. And so I'm going to be in some meetings with them, and then afterwards I'm going to go visit Colin in a group from his organization are in the U.S., and I'm going to be able to sneak some time with them. They're doing some extensive tours to kind of check out, what kind of care models do we provide over here, and but I'm going to be able to sneak some time with the team, and I'm so excited because they're just really doing some phenomenal things, and they talk about how to ignite and energized staff, and their turnover is like next to nothing, which is a big problem in most communities here in the U.S. Turnover is significant, and he said the only reason they have somebody leave is if they relocate or if they go back to school. You know, people don't leave because they're not happy, but they're very, very engaged with their work, and I think that that's a huge thing that I'm sure that you work on as well, is getting people back on purpose. You know, most people got into healthcare because they're a people person, and then we give them this job description with this list of tasks, and it has nothing to do with people. You know, we're so time-oriented and regulation-oriented that we forget that we're dealing with a person. It's not a task. And I think that's really what has to happen. We have to shift our care culture to get back to realizing the service is a person, not the task, and meeting their needs.
Yes, absolutely. And that's very interesting, and that's very true. And as you said very well, that we are forgetting the care, or we are overloaded. That means all the professionals and the caregivers are overloaded with all these paperwork and the time limits and whatever. But no matter what it is, I've been there on the field. If you have a passion as a caregiver, you will still take the time to take care of our dementia patients. You will still take time, those 15 minutes, 10 minutes, a smile while you're passing. You're looking, you're feeding them, you're reminiscing. So, you know, the passion has to be there. So I try to put that passion in every caregiver. Even if you have to do the paperwork, you have to do the ADLs, you have to feed them, you can still interact and ask them to talk, share your thoughts, listen to their thoughts, and be a great listener. So you will know about these dementia patients. So just not sitting there. So, you know, you're right. You're absolutely right. They have the caregiver wherever I go, and the staff is always talking that, hey, Rita, we are 8 of them, and within an hour we have to take care of them. And I said, within that hour, you still can take out 15 minutes and just say 5 minutes. Hello, how are you? How's your day? Can I help you with something? Can I get you a water? Can I get you a snack? Can I get you a fresh fruit? Just to make a smile. Just to create some moments of joy for our dementia patients. That's all the passion they have to bring from my training.
Yeah, and that's critical. It's just you know, it's very critical to get people back in touch with why they're doing what they're doing and how they're doing it. You know, it's so simple, yet we've gotten so far off kilter with it all, and we really need to get back to balance and back on track. Any last minute things that you would like to share with our audience at all, Rita?
It was a really pleasure that whoever our listeners are today, I would love to say that, you know, thank you for being a part of our conversation. If you have any questions, feel free to email me. That is at beyondgoldenera.com. You can visit my other website, which is dementiaangels.com, and you have my cell phone. You feel free to call me for trainings, any CU programs, any type of consultations, or if you need any type of resources, even if I'm in Arizona, I would love to help you if it need be. Just send me an email. I would love to hear from you. And thank you, Laurie. Thank you for everything and giving me an opportunity to be on your show today. And I'm looking forward to hear from you all.
Okay,
and we would
sounds good.
I would love to be one of the advocates. I would love to be a part of anywhere I can assist any seniors or family members who are lost, and what should they be looking for in their own state, or where they can reach any of the services. So I can guide them through email. That would be wonderful, or they can pick up the phone and give me a call. Feel free.
Okay. Thank you, Rita. And you have a wonderful week, okay?
You too. Thank you so much, Laurie, and have a wonderful day too. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Okay. Bye-bye. Before I introduce our next guest, I'm just going to go through some mid-program highlights. For those of you that are just tuning into the show right now, Alzheimer Speaks is an advocacy-based group that is just wants to shift our caregiving culture from crisis to comfort around the world. And so we have all different types of platforms. You can visit our main website at www.alzheimerspeaks.com. I want to just highlight some of our last shows. I just spoke of the show. I had a special show on last night that was just excellent, that talked about collaboration and making a difference, and it was an Australian group that had some really new, fresh ideas in terms of how to create true dementia-friendly communities and how to empower those diagnosed. And it was a wonderful show, and I recommend you listening to that one. On the 10th, we had Alzheimer's Disease International with us, Mark Wortman, the executive director, and author Shannon Werbinski, who wrote a beautiful book called What Flowers Remember. The book was written for kind of tweens, but it's a great adult book as well. So check out that book, What Flowers Remember, and if you want the global updates, you can listen to the June 10th episode. All of our shows here are recorded, so we go back 3 years. There's all kinds of information out there. Our next show on next Tuesday is going to be talking about, gosh, I just forgot. Isn't that awful? I have to go look it up. So I will get back to you on that one. Our last dementia chats, though, we had discussed how to live better with dementia and what these memory impairment cards do, and that was really quite fascinating as well. And we always get great information when dealing with them. Our upcoming one is Dealing with Dementia, Getting Your Detective Hat On. That'll be coming up here soon. So we also, I think I'm going to tentatively cancel our dementia chats that we normally would do on the 24th, just due to my travel schedule. I think it's just going to be a little bit too hard to plug in. And don't forget our resource directory. Not only can you find resources, but you can input information into the resource directory by just going up to the header. There's a button that says Share That You Care, and there's directions on how you can input information. So if you have a business or a product or a tool, or maybe you've read a book that you think others need to know about, you can go ahead and input it into the resource directory. Some of the past blogs I'm going to highlight. Norms McNamara wrote a beautiful prose, and it's called Please Don't, and it's really about the realities of dementia, and he's asking that people don't do certain things when they encounter a person with dementia. Michelle Riemold, our intern, wrote a nice piece on called In Their Eyes, and it's all about connections. There's a piece on Father's Day, and then there's a survey that just has 3 questions. It's 3 polls, basically one question each, on grassroots versus medical academic models. I would really appreciate your taking the time to complete those polls. I'm also interested in the public's definition of a grassroots model versus a medical academic model. And then Linda Everman had sent me something on helping to stamp out Alzheimer's, and so they're needing some more support in terms of trying to get the semi-postal stamp through. Again, don't forget about the Purple Angel Project. If you're looking for an Alzheimer's Association anywhere in the world, you can go to Alzheimer's Disease International. Or if you want a holistic approach, check out the Alzheimer's Research and Prevention Foundation, the Lewy Body Association, and the Frontal Temporal Lobe Association. and the National Aphasia Association will give you specifics to those types of symptoms of dementia. And again, we've got Jiminy Wicket, where you can play croquet, even if you have dementia, and it's intergenerational choral health with Music First, which writes prescriptions for music to help change our moods. Jane Snyder's Puzzle with Me that are more age appropriate in design, and there are fewer pieces, and there are also easier to handle. And then the Alzheimer's Studies Group, if you're looking for a clinical trial, they are doing a trial on tau, which is in its third clinical trial, and then they also just started one on frontal temporal lobe. So let me go ahead and introduce our next guest here. Alban Maino is a Franco-American filmmaker based in Portland, and for more than 20 years he's worked as a film director, a photographer, and a film producer on many documentaries. Since 2010, Alban has been producing a film collection along with a scientific community of geriatric doctors called Remembrance. And this is a collaboration and collection that is dedicated to patients and caregivers affected by dementia. The first collection is now collection of films is now available online streaming. So, Alban, welcome to the show today. How are you doing?
Good morning, Lori. I'm very well. Thank you very much for hosting me and inviting me to participate today.
Well, I think your project is really quite exciting, and but before we go in to talk about that, I always just like to let our listeners know if you've been personally touched by dementia. Have you had a family member or a loved one, touched by this disease, and how did you get involved in this to begin with? So.
Well, you're absolutely right. The project that I will talk to you about today started about 5 years ago when my grandmother actually was personally affected by dementia. She's 93 years old. She was diagnosed as a stage 1 as an Alzheimer patient, and I decided immediately that because she was always someone extremely full of life and happy through her entire life and very positive person, that I had to do something and bring my expertise and domain of experience to help her in what she was going to go through, and that's how the project originated. Actually, yes.
Okay, great. And can you tell us, why you created this and how you feel that this is kind of a new therapeutic solution in terms of providing care for Alzheimer's and dementia patients?
Yes, well, one of the first things that I realized, I wasn't familiar at all with the conditions of living that the patients affected by dementia were living into. And as I said, when my grandmother was affected by it, and when she started to live in the institution, I would pay her frequent visits and could measure the chaotic and the stressful environment in which she was living in and in which she was surrounded by all the time. And even though there was a little garden in the backyard of the institution, I realized that no one was going, and that the only horizon that the patients were living in and looking at was the gray walls of the institutions or the white blouses of the people that were in. And to me, it seemed like something that we could easily change, coming from the world that I live in. As a photographer, I'm an observer of nature. I meditate, I travel a lot, and I see beautiful things throughout my travels. And I thought, well, it would be so simple to help and bring a little bit of what I see into the institution. So I started to work on a body of images that was different and more targeted for the people and the audience that I was dealing with. And very quickly, the doctors that were present in the institution said, well, I think we're touching something very important here, because you are absolutely right. We were able to stimulate some of the senses and create a sort of a quiet and non-stressful, non-threatening environment by projecting simple images. And for the listeners to understand, I mean, we always say that a picture is worth 1,000 words. So I invite everyone to go and see the little trailers. But for the listeners, I want them to understand what I did and the concept that I created. Through the meditation process, sometimes we look at nature and we breathe and we or even when we walk without even realizing it, we diminish our level of stress by just looking at something in the distance. Well, I took that literally and saying, when I take a walk in nature, when I look at the sky, or I'm very fortunate to be living in Portland, Maine, and to be living by the ocean. And very often when I take walks, I look at nature, and all that contributes to my to my not my healing process, but to my general state of being and to my stress level. And I thought, well, this is something I could do. I could use the new technological tools that are now available, and then I'll explain you how I use them to bring that into the homes, into the institutions, and project them. And one thing that was very important because was the technical aspect of it. I wanted the films that I was going to create to have an extremely high level of precision. I wanted them to be like living tableaus, like something that we would look at. And you know how television is the opposite of something that is stressful. It's very confusing, especially for people affected by dementia. It's not handicap accessible, and very often when I go into hospitals, I couldn't understand why the television was always on, and I thought it was something that was not adapted at all. And so the project that I started to work on, those living tableaus, I thought needed to have a quiet and peaceful aspect of it. So I filmed long sequence shots, and sometimes they would last, at the beginning of the project, would last several minutes, up to 10, 15 minutes, and then we realized that the attention span of not only the patients but of the caregivers was reduced, and then we would be losing the attention. So we reduced our living tableaus to 3 minutes. So what it is really, it's a moving image, a very simple moving image. There is no voiceover. There is no narration. Sometimes I use just simple silence. There is not even ambient sound. Sometimes I do use the ambient sound because we've seen through music therapy and sound therapy that the cognitive stimulation that can come with the use of sound is very important. But we've worked on those films so that they're very simple ways to access them. So the films last 3 minutes, and we have 10 of them that comes in a row. So we have 30-minute sessions that are provided throughout the day that comes and help the people and the caregivers that are surrounding to take a moment of breathing throughout the day, and that's how it all started. And then we worked on the films themselves with, like you said originally, a committee geriatric doctors and psychologists, we started to work on the sequencing as we were advancing into creating the series of films, and realized that not only we could provide with the films something that would be meditative and calming and soothing, but that we could also use that as a cognitive stimulation in some ways for the patients. So we created a series of films, and some of the films we use in the morning, some of the films we use in the middle of the day, and we used, the circadian aspect of dementia and chronobiology to diffuse the films at different times, and very quickly we were able to measure a drastic diminution in the level of stress and in the environment that we were dealing with. I'm sorry for my mix and my confusion in the way I present that, but I hope I'm making myself clear.
No. So basically, Reminiscence is they're about how long are they? 3 or 4 minutes long a piece? Is that what I read for the film?
Yes, absolutely. Every film is 3 minutes long, and the sequencing for every session is different. Like we would have, we realized that after 30 minutes, the attention span of the patients was going away because there would be scenes of nature, for example. We are here in Maine. I created a series of films specifically for people that grew up in farms. So we have like sessions of my films that are targeted with farm scenes. And so we have 10 farm scenes, 10 films of 3 minutes. And we worked out the sequencing of those films that at the beginning it would be very stimulating, and then we would go out with the films into something that is more soothing, and then the sunset would for example lay on the farm, and that would be the end of the film. So we would have a 30-minute sessions, 10 films of 3 minutes that would come and could be used as a conversational piece or just a very simple link, a new way of a new community. It creates a caregiver-patient connections and improves the relationship also of the caregiver, the patient, the aidant. Because by looking at something that we all take for granted, we provide not only something that is relaxing, but we create a new link with this very simple image.
Which makes a lot of sense, and I think one of the things that that people forget, and Harry Urban, who is diagnosed with dementia, said this one time on our dementia chats, and I just found it to be so profound and so true, is he says, I used to like relaxing before I got dementia. I still do now. And I think right. They find these films very relaxing. They just are very settling and grounding and calming and yet peaceful. And it's a beautiful visual. And like you said, some have background music and nature noises, and others are just perfectly quiet. And that's how our everyday life is. So that is a normal, where we just like to sit and absorb what's before us, the beauty, and you're bringing that into them for them to be able to have that opportunity again, which I think is lovely, and I think it's a powerful way for people to be engaged, even if there's not chitting and chattering going on. We don't always have to talk to be engaged, and I think that's something that's kind of a myth out there, that people have to be physically active and they have to be talking to be engaged. And I think this will blow that out of the water. And do you have scientific evidence of engagement with people watching your films at all?
Yes, absolutely. And this is a very important point. Thank you for mentioning it. And I want to rebound on what you just said, because the Professor Ivagid, who's the scientific director at the Brain Institute in Paris, summarized our mission. His job is to develop new innovative techniques to cure neuropathologies. And I have a quote that I really like to use sometimes too, because I think it illustrates exactly what you just said. Here's what he says. He says, someone affected by dementia needs to have his or her spirit opened. We need to make them see, hear, and listen. The need to perceive things is good for them. The brain is a complex molecular biology system. What is good for us is even better for them. And that's exactly what you said. We don't need to be talking all the time. There are very simple ways in which, and very often I talk to people because I am going into institutions and I project my films. And because I like to be there, and I talk to people, and that caregivers and patients at different stages, that gives me immediate feedback and says, the only time I could speak with my mom, or that I would find her again the way she was before, when we would go by the water, and she said that she would feel exactly the same thing before, and that's a little bit of what I'm trying to do. So to go back to your question about the clinical validations and how it is effective. There are many ways in which the films have a spectacular impact on patients and caregivers. Alleviating the stressful living conditions in which they are living by creating a peaceful moment in time through meditation is an important aspect of it, and it can be measured very simply. What we did originally 3 years ago when we started to work on that was to have we tried that over 500 patients with the doctors and nurses, and we would say, okay, every nurse was in charge of 2 or 3 different dementia patients, and we would analyze their reaction throughout the diffusion of the films. And that's also how we were able to work on the sequencing, saying, okay, this one might be a little too meditative for the beginning of it. Maybe we need to use that film for an evening session. And another film would be stimulating the episode memory, relaying a precise life episode of an individual. So we would measure the agitated movements that would go down over time. And the results were spectacular because the doctors told us, I don't know how it comes from scientifically, but our hypothesis comes from the fact that by projecting these films for 3 or 4 long minutes, again, nothing's happening, yet there is always an element of drama. We're watching the sunset, but there's always a bird crossing. We're watching the chickens in the farms, but the chickens are eating a worm. There's something happening. The little cats are playing together. The very simple sceneries of natures are happening, yet they last a certain amount of time. Normally in television, an image wouldn't last more than 5 to 10 seconds, and then you move on to something else. In this particular film, the last 3 long minutes, and 3 minutes is a long time for your brain to have an imprint. So after a couple of weeks, we were able to, by questioning the patients, to say, do you remember, Mrs. Smith, the films that we watched last week? And they would say, yes, I remember we watched a beautiful sunset. And that was, for the doctors that we were working with, an incredible thing. So we started the clinical study. And realized, music therapy has been used for decades as a tool, but guided imagery is something that is fairly new. The scene selection, the order, the music, and the chronobiology, we were able to measure a direct impact on the reducing of the sundowning effect that I am sure most of your listeners are aware of. By projecting the films at the end of the day, 4, 5, 6 o'clock, by taking their mind off the anxiety that comes with that moment of stress, we were able to see in the reactions of the patients the diminishing of the stress. chronobiology throughout the day, making films that would give them new temporal references. Like I will simplify it, but it's very simple to understand. At the end of the day, we would provide films of sunset, and at the morning, and in the morning we would provide longer films of sunrise, so that they could be used by the patients and the caregivers to create those new temporal references throughout the day. And that's what we've been measuring over the period of the time that we developed this series of films. And the clinical validation that comes with it was made from several panel testing. We're doing the same, and we're continuing that, because we believe that there are many more ways in which we can use the sound and the music in the films to continue to bring this awareness in many ways. Did I answer your question fairly correctly? Yes?
Yeah, no. I think that makes a lot of sense there. What kinds of effects are care partners expected to see? In terms of people diagnosed watching these films. What types of reactions are they going to anticipate from a patient side?
On the patient side, there are several effects that we were able to mark down. One of the first one was the diminishing of the evening anxiety that I was just mentioning. The sundowning effects was drastically improved. We were able also to note that there were strong reduction in the behavioral troubles and the agitated movements of the people that were watching through the films. It improves the mood and lowers the stress level in which the patients are living in, and by creating multisensorial positive stimulation, we were able to work on the stress level of the patient, which not only created something for the patient himself that was encouraging for us, but for the caregivers and the medical staff, we were able to create an environment that was much easier to work and deal with. For the medical staff, we were able to create, like I said earlier, non-directive dynamic communication. We were able to use some of the films to stimulate the cognitive functions and use them sometimes as a form of re-education through art therapy. We were, like, one of the sessions would be used as a conversational piece, and says, okay, now we've watched those films for 15 minutes or 30 minutes. Let's talk about a little bit what we've seen, in the farm or on the water. What does that bring back to you? The creation of those new temporal points of references is also something very important. I decided to include that and use the films because as in the editing process, I realized that I was dealing with different times of the day, and I said, well, this seems very simple. And one of the important aspects of dementia is, as you know, the inversion of day and light and the loss of temporal references. And the doctor says, is there something or a way that we could work? I've followed initiatives that were done in Canada that I thought were excellent. At the end of the day, the caregivers would put their pajamas on, and this was a way to mark that time of the day. And I thought, well, there is a way with guided imagery that we can also provide that. So the films sometimes can be different. The films, when we use them in the morning, the sunset would last not 3 minutes, but would last 10 or 15 minutes, and would be in the environment, in the living common spaces, or in the bedrooms. And that would create an immediate time reference for the people that are watching that.
Okay. Now, I would imagine that these films, and I don't know if you did any studies on this, would have a big impact on the caregivers just to get them to relax as well. So if you're watching this at home, did you do any studies regarding the care partners in terms of them watching this? Because I think it's beneficial to anybody to just slow down, breathe, and take some beauty in. Just shut everything else out and just focus, on a scene and the appreciation for what you're seeing. Did you do any studies for family caregivers at all?
Well, we didn't particularly focus our study on the caregivers, but since we work with the caregivers, we were able to measure that the caregivers were benefiting just as much from the environment that we were creating. Actually, to me, the films are not targeted essentially towards the dementia patients. I think, like like Rita mentioned before, it is very important to stimulate the five senses. And what I will go back to what Professor Ajit said. What is good for us is good for dementia patients as well. And the stress level of dealing with dementia patients increases with the various stages of the disease. And it is very important for the patient that the caregiver in itself has a peaceful way of dealing with it. And by looking at the films, with or without, you're absolutely right, the patients, we are able to take away from the stress that comes with it and bring a sort of peacefulness. But at the same time, when you have your mom in the bedroom or in the living room just looking at a film in the middle of the day, then you're able to attend some of the things that you wouldn't be able to be doing throughout the day. And you're still able to carry on a conversation or to work or to do different things. And as I'm talking about my films or presenting them, I did a couple of Pecha presentations where people can come and talk about various projects, and people would come and says, I'm affected by. I was a veteran, and I am a veteran, and I went to war. And your films, I feel, could be very useful because I have troubles going to sleep at night, and the post-traumatic stress that comes with it. I think your films could help me. So we started to use the films and said, of course, you can use them because they're not only targeted for people that are affected by special forms of dementia. We built it. I created this collection, a series of films for the patients themselves, but they, of course, can be used by anyone that is into a stressful forms of daily life. The MIT in Boston has been studying for the past 10 years a lot this new trend in mind-body medicine and how your mind affects your general state of being and measures how the impact of stress can develop not only dementia but several forms of diseases. So by providing a form of inner peace, by meditation, and my films are in no way a form of a strict meditation in this literal form sense of the word, but they are a form of meditative approach to life. Because what happens, and it's very easy for any of your listeners to go online and to try that. I had one of the sessions because I like people to try that and give me some feedback about what it does to them. They can go online right now and look at one of the sessions with the little cats in the farm that I was mentioning before and see what it does to them. Because at the beginning you're looking at the cats and you're looking at the scene and you say, oh, this is very cute, and it brings a smile to your face. And after 30 seconds, 45 seconds, you're still looking at them, and then the dog comes in the bag, but something happens. You're not looking at a film. We're not telling you a story. Instantly, you are starting to be somewhere else. You are in a sort of meditative state. You're traveling, you're dreaming. And actually, this is how the geriatric doctors that we were using those films for would present the film throughout the day. There would be dreaming sessions. They would say, okay, and they would bring the patients in the institutions and say, for 30 minutes, we're going to provide you with images that will recall some of the places that you've seen in your life. But there is nothing to understand. There is no complicated plot. There is no voiceover. You don't have to feel threatened by anything. And I showed the films in many institutions. And I was always amused because the nurses would come to me before and says, we know how to deal with that. We are expecting some very agitated movement from such and such patients, and do not worry about it. We know that you're not necessarily accustomed to this type of effect. And I would say, okay, we'll see how it goes. And 95% of the time, nothing happened like they would expect it. The reduction of the agitated movements was not coming from the patients that were mostly agitated, and something would happen. The power of music, for example, is tremendous and has been used in music therapy, for decades. I used music also as a very important creative tool to stimulate the memory of the patients. I would identify with professional musicians and musical therapists songs from the 30s and 40s and 50s and even locally. We don't have the same songs in Maine or that we would have in Minneapolis at this period of time. So we would be identifying two different forms of songs, and at the same time, some songs are more universal. So we would be able to use the power of music to create and stimulate the memory and the power of sounds. But I also worked with musicians to compose songs for the film specifically. So there would be a really strong connection between the images that you would be looking at and the films and the music that would come. And that to me was very, very interesting. Since the film were soothing and meditative and calming, it was very important to have the music that would go with it. And the creative process that brought to that was very interesting because I could see that by the combination of the various elements, by working with people that were using different tools, the music, the imagery, the chronobiology of time throughout the day, we were creating something that could be used as a tool to help not only the patients but the caregivers. You were absolutely right to underline that had helped their daily conditions of living.
Yeah, definitely. Now we have somebody in the chat box. Terry is saying, if you look at the history of cinema and TV, historically the camera lingered on a scene for 45 to 90 seconds. Much longer takes is far less stressful on the neurology aspects of the brain, and the faster and faster the cinematography, it's very hard on the brain and in changing it literally the way we're wired. So there's really some rhyme or reason for slowing down and letting us just absorb it. Goes on to say, it sounds like this film work is addressing and taping into the nonverbal areas of the brain, which should also help us relax. There is no language or information that requires processing, so being able to get it should be much more comfortable to the challenged brain. And that's something I hear over and over and over again. Thank you, Terry, for those comments. from people with dementia, they say, I don't watch TV anymore, or if I do, I'm just sitting there with my spouse or my loved one because they want to watch it, but I can't track it. I don't enjoy it. I just enjoy being with them. And for many, it's stressful trying to stay connected and keep up with plots and everything that's going on. And so this really is a nice kind of new normal that allows people to relax and I like that kind of dream state. It's because dream, hopefully it's a peaceful dream state, not a nightmare, but what you're creating is this peacefulness. And I think that's one of the things, again, that I hear from people with dementia is there's so much angst in their life, and they're constantly nervous about what's going on, and just to allow them to be in a beautiful, comfortable setting adds so much value and allows a much more dignified state for them to be present in as well. So, kudos for developing this. I hope that this that people really understand what's behind this. This isn't, just putting in a tape to keep somebody busy so that you can do something else. Not that you can't utilize it for that and allow yourself some time to be able to do something else, but it really is bringing a peacefulness within, which is so important. And it might jog some memories and some conversation as well, in terms of when they have been in a moment similar to that. So I would imagine that happens probably a lot with people, that they see the dog or the cat or the horse or the cow or wherever it is, or if it's going down the canal in a boat, that it jogs memories, or the people dancing, it jogs memories in their own mind. And because we're always trying to figure out how we fit in usually to different scenes. Do you get a lot of reminiscing generated after watching these films?
Yes, and very often it conduces. One of the great joy of this project that it brought to me was the fact that as a filmmaker, as a documentary filmmaker, throughout my life, I would always work on very exciting projects that and sometimes would go, but I would never really have the chance to be confronted to the public that I was working for. You make films for television, and then they're sometimes broadcasted once, and I mean there's a screening once, and then they're broadcasted, but you're never in front of the end viewer. And with this project, I took a very different approach. I used the network of filmmakers that were in my environment and musicians to say, okay, we're going to do something that is very different from anything that we've done so far. And the way we're going to do that is really to adapt the films to a specific population. And in order to really measure the impact and create films that are really adapted to it, what we're going to do is we're going to go into the institutions. We're going to project the films ourselves and see what it does. And I didn't know what that was going to, how much this was going to affect me, because very quickly the feedback that I would get from the reminiscing of all those images, people would say, oh, I think I know, one of the films, one of the places where that you've been showing us earlier on. I was there, and I grew up in a farm that was very similar to the one that you showed us, and I think this little cat was actually my little cat, and I didn't know that the reminiscence that would come from just the simple viewing would have such an impact on people. So as we would move on with the production of the film, I decided to put an emphasis on that and says, okay, let's brainstorm and see and imagine what is part of our common day-to-day life. What are the simple things that we do or we look at throughout the day without even realizing it, and how could we make that interesting by just projecting putting ourselves in them for 3 minutes. So then we would film, and I'm still in the process of doing that. So then I film, I go out, and then we edit the films, and we add music or sound or just pure silence to it, and then we project it. And very often, nine times out of 10, the reaction from the patients, but also, like you said, from the caregivers, is very rewarding in many ways, because we are able to have an immediate feedback on the films that we're making, and that was very important to us because it helped us to create something that was really connected to the daily life of the people that we were working with and for. So after I do my projection, I always stay, and I like to talk on the film sometimes. I project the films for 30 minutes, and I say, well, here now we're in the coast of Maine, or now we're down in Louisiana, and this was shot on the Missouri River, and very soon, in a few minutes, you will see a bird crossing the thing, and I give the name of the bird, and very simple little hints like that. And I realized that the interaction was just very, very nurturing in many ways. And the nurses and doctors we're working, or that I go when I go into a new institution, or where I provide the film to a caregiver, I always give sort of a methodology on how to use the films. We can and at what time, and like you said, the television is very confusing in many ways to me, and it's even confusing to everyone. Sometimes you look at the news and you have 4 different sources of information. Something is written that doesn't have any relation whatsoever with the image that you're viewing, and then you're getting different sound for it. It's totally chaotic. Those films are the opposite way of that, and the nonverbal aspect, and the fact that we're processing something that is very simple is crucial. So, depending on the sessions that we project throughout the day, the sundowning sessions are very important. So we have I explain how to deal with those sessions in a different way. I said, okay, we're going for the sessions at the end of the day when we're in institutions. What we're going to do is to create a very calm, peaceful environment. We're going to lower the level of lights, and because there is also a sequencing in the 10 films that comes together, and we're bringing people in sort of a meditative state, and then we have to take them out of it by slowly, reactivating the return to the life of the environment that they're accustomed to. And to me, it's always been something extremely interesting to witness the reaction and the people looking at the film. Something that like I said, I've never done before in my life as a filmmaker, because sometimes I would look at, and the documentary style is a very different way of looking and creating a content than what I'm doing now. But the rewards of being a filmmaker is to be able to show things to people that they don't see normally, and that's what I do as a photographer as well. And that is why also I insisted that the films that I would make would have an extremely high quality in terms of the quality of images. So all the images that I shoot are made with 4K and 5K cameras. This is a little technical here, but it means that the depth of field, the little details in the image have to be very present. The color, the lighting, they're extremely precise, and they're like extremely detailed photography with things that are moving. So we give the impression of really traveling through time and space by providing a new form environment, which is something that you don't have normally with normal cinematography, unless you're in a movie theater, and this is why I'm very excited too, because the new technology now allows us to do that in a very efficient way, and as we are going, this is a very simple tool. I don't know if you've heard of that, Laurie, but if you've heard of the Snoo-Zealand multisensory rooms that have been used to stimulate the senses in Europe and in hospitals in the past 10 years. Have you heard of that?
They're fascinating. Yeah, they're fascinating. But they're expensive too.
Exactly, they're very expensive. They cost for the listeners who are not familiar with the Snoo-Zealand room. It's an initiative that started about 15 years ago in Scandinavia, and what they created is a way to stimulate the senses of kids or people that were affected by autism, by dementia, or other mental illnesses by creating in a small environment stimulation of the senses. So we would see, I'm going to simplify it. It'd be really simple to look at images online, but they would make bubbles and sounds and calms, and there will always be a therapist with them or in those rooms, and there would be sessions that would last anywhere from 15 to 45 minutes. And there were clinical studies that were done over the past 20 years, 15 years on the impact of this form of mind-body medicine, that it physically work. Well, the films of the Remembrance film collections have exactly the same effect as those multisensory room, except that we've exploded the walls and the physical wall and the cost of acquiring that for a hospital or an institution. We're able to provide exactly the same form of relaxation and stimulation through those modern interactive tools. So that was a great success for us, and I hope we can continue to do that.
Yeah, I think that's wonderful. I did have someone else comment that's from hospice and just said, this is just such a difficult disease. And has this been tried in hospice at all? I would think that this would be, again, really calming for both family and people with dementia or in end stages, if they're still able to engage and watch what's going on.
If your question, has this been tried in institution?
Yeah, in hospice. In a hospice situation, in terms of, I could see where that would bring a lot of calmness to not only the family, but hopefully the patient as well, depending on where they're, what stage they're in.
Yes, actually, it all started in hospices and caregiver homes, and not only hospice ourselves. But then sometimes we would invite also caregiver families to stay with us during the projection, and the caregivers would come after and say, "Is there any way we can get the films?" And at the time when I started to do that, I had DVDs, so I would hand out DVDs and says, "Yes, you can use them." And in hospices, the process was a little different that you would do into your own home. They were used in hospital. They are currently used in dementia institutions, in hospices and caregiver homes, and not as a therapeutic treatment, but as an incitation to dreaming sessions throughout the day that are provided. So the use of the films is different, whether if you're at home or if they are used by a committee of doctors and nurses in the institution. And the hospices that I've visited, they all have a corner with a television or a retroprojector system, and most of the time they are providing images or the Discovery Channel is on, or images that are also amenable to watch, but at specific time during the day, they would provide the Remembrance film collection sessions. They are providing it. Yes.
Okay, wonderful. So do you want to talk a little bit about your collaborators that you worked with to create these films? I know you had mentioned a geriatric team. I don't know if you want to do any name dropping here. And then tell us a little bit, too, about where people can find the film and how much it costs. And we're going to need to wrap up. I think we've got about 10 minutes left here. So, but I want to make sure that we get a plug for that.
Yes, thank you very much, Lori. I'm passionate, and for me, it's also. I apologize for the French accent that I have, and I hope I can make myself clear. You're right to mention the people that I work with, because this is a team effort that I've been working with. Many people are involved into the production and the logistics side of it. I work with filmmakers, musicians, sound engineer that help me produce the content. That's the technical part, and the scientific committee of geriatric doctors and psychologists that we've been working with help us to modify the content to fit either the time schedule, the attention of the patients, or saying, no, this is maybe a little too threatening, or this could be in another sequence. So, and the analyzing of the reaction, patients and caregiver allow us to measure the impact. There would be too many people for me to thank and to provide name with, but everyone can easily go online and on forgetdementia.net. This is the website that I've just recently finished about a week ago, so it's still in the process, but where you can see most of our work. To answer your specific questions, how much does it cost? We are a not-for-profit operation right now. We're still trying to raise funds to continue to produce our content. So we provide all the films for free. There is a public license trial of our films that is now available for healthcare institutions in the United States and Canada. Everything is easily viewable online through an online delivery service. Again, all the link can be found on forgetdementia.net. So whether you're a private or a home license owner or a home caretaker, you can access the content. The films are available on the links, and we're trying to continue by raising a campaign. What we did. You will find a link on the homepage of forgetdementia.net to our Indiegogo campaign, and I want to use the opportunity of your fantastic show to call for action and ask your listeners to help us continue to produce our content. We need new contribution to bring the films into institution, into the home of patients, and all that has a cost. But they can help in many different ways, just by sharing on social networks the links, and the availability of this content is also a tremendous help. By being a non-for-profit, if we're dreaming of a white knight, a generous contributor, a patron of the arts, someone that could help us quickly boost that project by providing for us a way to distribute the content in a much larger way, and hopefully it will come. I believe in providence, like we say in France, and that something comes out of it. But in the meantime, I invite all your listeners to share the link, to share the content, and to come and try it. And again, money is no object. If you there is a way, just send me an email, and I will provide for free the content of the sessions to you. We really want that to help as many people as we can. So go to forgetdementia.net, and hopefully you'll find all the information I think you've also put a link on your website, so it's very easy for listeners to go to the content.
Yep, exactly. Well, I appreciate all you're doing. It's very, very important work, and it takes a village, and we're all out there working together. I'm just going to look at some more comments here. Terry had said, let's see, what I've learned in education background, we aren't teaching math, we're teaching kids, for example, same with healthcare. The other one, let's see, is we can't improve, only manage. when there's so much holistic and complementary care, we can really make a difference. So I think it's really, we have to focus on the right things that we're teaching our kids and teaching ourselves, and taking time for that self-care is so critically important. And these videos, these short films can be great for self-care, just letting us relax. It's okay to relax in this fast-paced world, and I don't think we do it enough. I know I kind of lost my way just being zippity-doo-dah, trying to keep busy all the time, and I don't feel guilty anymore relaxing and taking a break, and I actually used to, which is really sad. But I think I've learned now to embrace the peacefulness even more, and what that does for me mentally, emotionally, physically. I mean, you can just, when you're in that relaxed state and you're comfortable and you're calm, if you really pay attention, you will understand and feel the difference it makes in your body and in your mind, and how it will allow you to then jump back into this fast-paced world a little bit calmer, a little bit more detached, so that you can maneuver your way through without all that baggage of emotions and guilt and all the other stuff that we take with us. So I think this is a beautiful project that brings into communities the peacefulness of nature and the natural life that we live, to places maybe they can't venture out to all the time, or maybe they just don't have the time to be able to go, or the money to travel, to some of the beautiful settings that you have. So again, kudos for this work, and it's amazing, when you know someone who's been touched with dementia, how that can change the impact in your life and the roads you go down. So I thank your grandma for having touched you with her disease, which allowed you to venture down this road and help us all with that. So again, for people who want to look at these films, go to forgetdementia.net. That's forgetdementia.net. And you can always reach out to Alban there too, from the website, and you'll be able to get to the Indiegogo site as well, where they're trying to raise funds to push this project out even more. Any last minute comments at all, Alban, that you'd like to address with the audience?
Well, I would just like to thank you, Lori, for giving me the opportunity, of course, to be on your show, but for the tremendous work that you're going, because I do believe exactly in what you're saying. It is very important to address, and that's what I have discovered in the past years by working at it. It is very important to reach a peaceful stage within yourself, because it's the best way to immediately help. And Rita was mentioning before me how important it is to understand, and that's part of our training, what dementia patients were living into, and analyze their needs. And I think that if you're in a peaceful state of mind yourself, if you are not in a stressful state of mind, and the films helps to in that direction, then you are directly helping the people that you care for. So, and providing the information, you mentioned that also, the resources that Alzheimer Speaks is providing to all of us is crucial. So thank you very much for everything that you're doing.
Well, great. Well, it's always a pleasure to hear what's going on. There's so many resources out here that we just need to connect people to, and that's the whole purpose behind Alzheimer Speak. So I appreciate you taking time out of your day, and Rita for coming and joining us too, and taking time out of her day to be able to share with people the neat resources that you've developed to help shift our dementia care culture. So you have a wonderful week, Alban, and we will definitely be in touch in the future, okay?
Thank you, Rita. À bientôt. Au revoir.
Okay, bye-bye. Well, thank you all for listening today. And again, if you haven't liked or tweeted or shared this episode, I would really encourage that you do that because you don't know who in your sphere of influence is in need of this information. And the more we can connect people, the better off the world will be. Also, if you haven't gone to alzheimersspeaks.com, that's our main website, please check that out. Again, that's alzheimersspeaks.com. Both words are plural. And go ahead and like us and share information. There's just tons of resources there, from the radio show to the blog to the dementia chats to the resource directory. If you have a business product, service, or tool, please feel free to input that into the directory. If it has anything to do with dementia or caregiving, just go up to the top button that says Share That You Care. Click on that, and it will tell you how you can go ahead and input your information. And if you'd like to subscribe to our newsletter, again, please do that as well. Next week, we are not going to have a live show, but I am going to do, I think, a repeat of the show we did last night because I'm going to be traveling. So our next live show will be July 1st. I don't know where June went, but boy, it went fast. Till next time, have a wonderful, wonderful week, and we'll talk soon. Bye now.
Hey everybody, Jared Sebestier, host of Retire Repurposed. This podcast is dedicated to help people transition into fulfilling and purposeful retirements. Retirement is a big life change. In fact, the two most dangerous years of a person's life are the year they were born and the year they retire. Few people could just flip the switch from working a career 30 or 40 plus years, retiring on Friday, without methodical steps to living what we call a repurposed retirement. To listen now, search Retire Repurposed on your favorite podcast platform, Senior Resource, or Life Audio.